Hello, it's practice day. It's the IFMAR Daily Show brought to you by Hobbywing.
And thank you to them and all of our sponsors.
If you're looking to buy a 10th Buggy, go down in the description and look for the link. tonysport.de is the best place that you can get your 10th Buggy and spares and options.
Some great deals there.
Absolutely.
But first, let's check out the J Concepts top moments of the day.
He's got the hot lap out of the gate here on lap 3. Marcus, 30.8. How about a 30.9 from Ripken? Obabag, 30.500. Orlowski, 30.2.
29.9 from David Ronafog, straight into the 29s.
Carup, new hot lap there, 28.557. 23.146. It is going to be Marcus Carup at the top of the board.
So today was all about practice, starting with 4 practice rounds and 2 controlled rounds, which are seeding leading into tomorrow's qualifying.
Yes, and the bigger teams are obviously doing a hell of a lot of testing. Like this with Una Hattunen.
Tell me the thinking behind that car switch mid-run. What can you tell us about the difference between the two cars?
I feel like both had kind of same grip, other one had a bit more steering, but just I wanted to see because they had completely different setups, so which way to go.
Now, as usual, the rear tires in two-wheel drive are controlled, however, the front tires are not, which leads to some pretty interesting answers, like this from Marcus Carup.
Where are you at in terms of front tires? Are you running ribs or some pins, or what sorts of things have you done on the front?
I don't want to say.
Now, one of the drivers who's practiced here the most is Spencer Rifkin, who's been here twice before. But he thinks it's all different now.
First off, I think it's extremely different than the other 2 times that I've been here because there's so much more elevation, kind of easy to overshoot or undershoot some of the sections based off of your momentum that you're doing in the sections.
So you think he'd know the track better than anyone, but looking at the timesheets, it seems like he's got some work to do.
Yeah, we'll get into this and all those other topics later in the show. But we've got a world champion on the line. Bruno, what do you make of practice day?
Yeah, I mean, I think the top 2 guys is what everybody expected to be on the top, Michael and Carup. Yeah, I mean, Carup is, for me, is like the guy is going to be in the future really, really, really good. One of the best drivers ever, I believe, in the future, as he is already doing it. And this is what is scary. It's not scary. It's a huge talent and is impressive. So young, already doing so many, good stuff. So I believe in the future with more experience, with more work done, with being really, I'm not sure if he's 100% professional yet. So when he becomes only 100% professional and goes to the races, practice, being with the factory, all these kind of things, it'll be, very, 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 very difficult.
It's interesting because he's an associated driver. This is Associated's class in a way. They've won it more times than any others. But also the Americans have won the 2-wheel drive class more times than any others. Ungaro's there. He's not really putting in the quick times yet. Do you think the team dynamic for those guys must be quite interesting? Because they're an American team. They're run by Americans. And, Spencer Rifkin is the reigning champion. But they've got this young European Marcus Carup just kind of stealing the show maybe, but it's early days.
He's already won 1 Worlds as well this year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I'm sure Ongaro is going to go up, and the track is starting to be more destroyed, let's say, in a way. So I think Ongaro, when it starts to be I think the 5 minutes. I think it's 5 minutes to qualifies, and they don't make 10 yet. Yeah. So I think it's 5 minutes. The 5 minutes qualifies. It's different because when you are on the practice, you just drive. You don't have that huge pressure. When it starts the clock on the qualify and everything starts to be, needs to go well, and there where the very, very good drivers and the ones that make the difference, they start to come up. Yeah. So let's wait for the qualify. 3 laps is 3 laps, and it doesn't really count much. But we will see. I mean, it looks good. I think Ongaro is going to go up, I believe, more, probably Spencer as well. Because when it starts to be the 5 minutes run, when you are nervous, when, everything needs to work out and the track is starting to be more destroyed. So it start to be better for the pure off-road drivers. We will see.
What do you do, or what would you advise them to do, or what do you think is in their mindset tonight? They've had a practice day, which if they did well, didn't count for anything. If they did badly, maybe it's kind of affecting their mental state going into the all-important day tomorrow. And then the track's going to change so much tomorrow again. So, like, what can they do tonight, overnight? What can they do this evening to, like, what's the best approach?
Yeah, it's always difficult to manage that approach. You need to be very open, I believe. And I try to be always very open because, in a way, like, you can be Marcus Kerup at the moment at his first. And I feel like he's first and he's comfortable first. You can be first, but tomorrow at the first lap, if you make a small mistake, you immediately lose all confidence, you know. And at the same time, if you are like, let's say, I think Daniel Koblevik is 9. Let's say you are Daniel and you don't feel like you have the pace to win, but tomorrow morning you start and you make a very good lap immediately, and you know you are first in the qualifier and the Worlds, you know, you feel positive. Yeah. So I just think in the both ways, you need to leave the door open to say, even though happens something like this, you need to be calm. You know, you need to keep calm. You cannot try to compensate the mistake. So let's say if Kerup makes a mistake, you will push the car more to try to compensate it, you know. So you will do more mistakes and then you will completely destroy the qualify. And if you are Daniel, and if you are first, you are not going to be like maybe too relaxed or maybe like, okay, I'm doing good, I can do even better and I will do a mistake, you know. Just try to concentrate on yourself and just try to drive without forcing too much because it's the first qualify. Yep. You know, it counts, but at the same time, it's much better to have a good position in the first qualify than have a very bad position that then you have the other qualifiers to do good positions, which is a lot of pressure then.
Amazing. Bruno, thank you for joining us. Who is this time tomorrow we'll have an overnight TQ with that all-important last round of qualifying on finals day. Who is your prediction for overnight TQ tomorrow?
I mean, for what I see at the moment, Kerup is really strong. I mean, for what he's showing on the consistency, what he's showing on the fast lap and everything, it's pretty fast. So I would, like, without risk, let's say, only if he does a mistake, there will be someone to catch him. But again, I'm not sure if the track is going to be destroyed, like more holes and everything. And then this kind of and compromise the drivers that are used to driving a very fast tracks, let's say like Michael, like Kerup, because they are used to drive more on carpet, you know. Yeah. Tracks that completely get destroyed. And then probably the off-road drivers like Ongaro, like Spencer, they will come up with the better results. So it's difficult to say, but for what I see now, Kerup looks very, very good.
You make very good points, Bruno. And let's go and take a look at the track after one day of racing. Is it getting destroyed? Let's see how it's degrading over the first day. Not too bad.
Yeah, the landings look a bit rough, but the track's actually holding up pretty well.
Now, as ever for the IFMAR Worlds, Red RC are trackside, giving all the insight that you would usually expect. So let's find out from Oisin what the main issues are that you can read about on redrc.net.
Hi, Oisin from Red RC. We've had a very interesting first day at these World Championships, and the big talking point, or the big thing we picked up when we were talking to drivers in the pits, was how much the track is a hit with the drivers. Drivers who have been here before, obviously they expect it to gel well, but guys who have never been here before, the likes of Clement Boda, first time in Australia, he's just loving the track. Doesn't even have anything like that like this in France. And then we also have David Ongaro, first time here, and he's loving it, and he will openly admit he's not a huge two-wheel drive fan. In terms of the performances, there was some up and downs. Marcus Kerup has been there all day. He's been, just fine-tuning his car. We had Arlowski, who started out very strong and then kind of disappeared off the radar, but he turned things around and he's looking really good for tomorrow, ending up P2 in seeding, and actually saying that he was happy he didn't end up top seed. So it's going to be a very interesting day tomorrow. Again, the track has evolved, but as the track evolves, drivers are still loving it. There's been no criticism. Normally in off-road, we tend to get people saying the track is starting to, shape up or break up. And here, everyone's really, really happy with how things are going. So I think it's going to be a very, very interesting qualifying. A lot of drivers, while we're based on 3 laps at the moment, A lot of drivers are really confident that they have a good 5-minute pace. Mark's group actually mentioned that it's the one track he's been that he actually hasn't had a rollover since he hit the track earlier on this morning. So everyone's in good form, and I think we're going to be in for a really interesting qualifying tomorrow.
Now again, all of that you can find on redrc.net, so go ahead and check those out.
Indeed do. Now, JQ, you've been up all night watching practice, but you look surprisingly chipper.
You know what's great about this race? The track is actually a 10th scale off-road track. The size is correct. It's not too big. It's not an 8th scale track. And it looks like natural dirt. So surface being dirt and the size being correct for 10th scale off-road. Looks like, is it concrete curbs even in some corners? And yeah, grass infield. Perfection. This is what 10th scale off-road tracks should look like.
Now, yesterday we talked about setup tips, and you said how important it was that it was a controlled tyre event, and 10th scale off-road's been controlled tyre for many years. But we saw this in the Euros at the Hoodie Arena as well. The front tyre in two-wheel drive is not controlled. Does that make much of a difference?
I really don't understand why they don't control the front tyre in two-wheel drive. Even though it's not a driving tyre, it still affects the car in a big way. The steering feel, corner speed you can carry, how much steering you have, the tyre will affect that. And it can become a situation where one two-wheel drive front tyre is better than others, but it's not available and only certain drivers have it. And then what's the point of having controlled tyre if that's the situation? So I really think that IFMAR and EFRA should look into also controlling the front tyre for two-wheel drive.
Yeah, well, I mean, you say EFRA, we saw at the Hoodie Arena, a lot of drivers were running the four-wheel drive front on the two-wheel drive car and getting much better performance from that. But the Hoodie guys said they didn't have enough to sell to everyone, so only certain people were able to get their hands on
limited.
them.
Yeah.
But then Martin Bayer went and won the whole event with the two-wheel drive front, so he kind of proved people wrong in some ways. And again, we have Tommy Hall winning at the Robin Hood, and apparently there was a certain Proline tyre that helped with that as well, that not everyone was able to get their hand on. So yeah, I think you're right. But we also know a little bit insider information that the section chairman does want to change that and has tried to change that, but because it's democratic, every AGM has been voted down.
And why would anyone vote against that though?
Has anyone stood out? Any particular drivers that have stood out to you during practice? Obviously early days, but what's kind of stood out to you at this point?
Well, Kairup, obviously, he's fastest, I think, now in seeding. He's the 8 scale electric world champion. He's on a roll. He's confident. He looks really good. Olovsky, I think I mentioned maybe as the first name yesterday. He will be up there. And one thing I did notice when looking at the results was that the new generation is arriving, or clearly arrived. So the younger drivers, Kairup is 17, is he? And then we have Zalewski, Koki Kato, Davy Bata. All of these guys are young and the next generation compared to even drivers like Olovsky.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the older guys, the older guard have stayed at home. Cavallari, Thibaut, Mayfield, they've all stayed at home. So the old guys haven't even made the trip out, a lot of them. What do you make of this? Martin Bayer is technically the best two-wheel drive racer in Europe right now. He's the European champion, and he's not racing. He's actually just supporting X-ray drivers. What's that all about? He's the best that they've got, if you actually look at that result and take that result seriously, but he's not racing.
Well, I think that's a really good question you should ask X-ray, and you should also ask, why is the reigning world champion not racing? Because Tata won the Worlds in America, two-wheel drive. He was running TLR. Now he's on X-ray, and he's not at the race. So why would those two drivers, European champion, world champion, why are they not racing?
Well, I reckon you guys at home will have a good idea and will put in the comments why. Just tell us why.
Do let us know your thoughts.
Because I don't think X-Ray will tell us, but I think you guys probably know.
Yeah.
Dakota Fend has not had a good practice. He is quite low down. I don't know if he's had a single good round yet. Ronnefox been in the top 10, but I'm sure it's not really what X-Ray have expected from the event so far. So you asked who was doing well. Olovsky, Kairup, these guys. But who isn't doing well? Team X-Ray at this point.
Now, you have some experience in regards to this next question I have. Now, we commented before about how America, United States of America, and Team Associated have kind of dominated this event. And from the JQ Racing and Mayako side of things, you've always kind of been the underdog. And at the minute, we've got 8 associated drivers in the top 10. And if you look at down to the top 15, we have at least 11 cars from associated in there. What is the mindset of these smaller teams? And I say smaller because Schumacher has 2 drivers in there with Rinderknecht and Orlovsky. They're the only other 2. That's the only other brand in the top 10. So what is the mindset of Team X-Ray and Schumacher going up against the juggernaut that is AE?
I think at a big race like this, it's definitely a benefit to have a big team because, for example, now you could have different drivers trying different front tires, and also there are different directions you can take that up. For example, pistons, and if you have a good driver try a set of pistons, you'll already have an idea of if it works or not, or maybe you can adjust the shock oils for another good driver who would then try the same piston. So you can test things at a faster pace when you have more good drivers or higher level drivers on your team. But that doesn't mean that a smaller team can't compete at that level, because with a smaller team, there's also less distractions. You focus on your own equipment and maybe your 2-driver team, and you don't get distracted or tempted to go in a different direction because someone had a super fast run. And that's something that could happen with associated, and I've seen happen to drivers who they are actually doing well, and then because someone on their team had a fast run, they will change their setup, and then it turns out to be the wrong choice. So there's good and bad to having a big team.
So have you had this situation where you're in that moment and you're kind of like, no, we're not trying that. No, we're not doing this. And the driver's like, yeah, but that made them fast. And you're having to go, no.
Yeah, I have been in that situation. And some of the funniest stories from races is exactly that. So me even agreeing with a driver and saying, okay, I'll do that, but then not doing it and not telling them. Or the opposite where I've communicated with a driver in a way where I know that they will be happy. So mentally they will believe that they know what's happening, so that they won't be overthinking it. But I have a completely different plan and I just stick to that. So drivers are really head cases, and I'm super honest and always. So it goes against everything that I believe in. But I've noticed that really sometimes you just have to let the driver believe that they are right and this is the way we're going to do it. And when they just believe that, they'll go out there and perform.
So basically you lie to them, and not to keep going back to Team Associated, but when Neil Cragg won his Worlds, he'd been lied to about what actual batteries he had in. He didn't know. And they basically set it up completely differently. He had no idea, and then he won. So yeah, it clearly works. Shall we take a look at some track action and see if we can unpick what's going on the actual track? So here we have one particular lap that you've picked out. What's going on here?
Yeah, I picked this because as I was watching, I saw that a lot of drivers were struggling with just driving smoothly around the track. And instead of a corner being round, they would sort of turn many times in the corner. For example, this corner here, now it was done really nicely, But many times you see like the rear end slide out a bit, then grip, slide out, grip. This particular example, there were 2 moments on that lap when the car just overloaded the rear, and instead of accelerating straight, it kept turning. So you'll see it coming up here.
There?
Yeah. Instead of going straight, the car jerked left suddenly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So car's turning left, and then instead of straightening out and going, it kept turning left. And then you saw it again here when the car lands the next jump. So you land, get on power, but the car suddenly turned left. And I would like to explain why this happens. So I stole this. This is an X-Ray two-wheel drive from a Finnish team driver, and I nicked it off him to show you this. So if we look at rear, we see when drive shafts are level, it looks like the lower arms are level, but they aren't, because gull wing arms go up at the end. So you have to imagine hinge pin to hinge pin, a straight line. Don't follow the arm, draw a straight line. And when you have an arm that is angled up towards the hub a lot, when the car wants to roll, it wants to roll down. There's actually a really good video on YouTube about this. Invisible Speed RC, jacking, okay? So the force is affecting the car wanted to roll downwards. When you have a roll center that's very low, no matter if you put a harder spring on or you're damping, each time that you load the car a lot, the arm is angled heavily in this direction, the car will want to roll downwards. And that's basically what's happening here in this example. The roll stiffness, the geometrical stiffness of the car doesn't support it enough to where it would square up and accelerate straight. It rolls down too far and keeps turning when you get on power. And this thing that it's like a fundamental setup thing. You need to nail this first, then you make all the adjustments around this. Otherwise, you're simply masking a problem. And this was such a great demonstration of that thing happening that I wanted to show it here.
That's some amazing insight, JQ. Thank you very much. And Spencer, if you're watching, maybe there's something for you to check out there.
But Spencer's a Team Savox driver.
Oh,
crikey, that's a big one.
Which brings us to this awesome competition.
To celebrate this amazing Worlds coverage, Team Savox wants to send you a brand new top-spec Team Savox SB3262 SG servo and official Team Savox bitmap. This is the same servo that top Team Savox drivers like Spencer Rivkin use for their own two-wheel drive buggies. Anyone around the world can enter. Just follow the Team Savox Instagram account, then comment on the contest post and tag an RC friend. We will pick a pair of winners and Team Savox will contact you on Instagram. That's it. It's super easy.
Super easy.
Now, another man who's been working very hard today, announcing for 11 hours, can you believe it, is Scotty Ernst. Now, here's his take on the day.
Hey everybody, Scotty Ernst here, and day number 1 of the IFMAR World Championships is in the books. It's Tuesday night under the lights, and it was absolutely an electrifying day. We had 4 rounds of free practice, 2 rounds of control practice, and all was said and done. It was Marcus Karup at the top of the leaderboard, followed by Mikhail Orlowski and Koki Kato, your top 3 seeds. Today, the track evolved immensely from wet and damp to slick to mad traction here as we closed out today. Tomorrow morning, we're going to kick off with a controlled practice round that's only going to set the starting order for all the heats. So we're going to bring it to you again live tomorrow. Can't wait. Day number 2 from the Land Down Under World Championship is going to be coming up tomorrow.
Thanks, Scotty. Now, in second place overnight is Michael Orlowski, and he's running the new Elsaram speed controllers.
These were just announced yesterday, and they're both smaller than the original versions and packed with new sophisticated software functions like a motor analyzer and brake softening, plus hardware updates like external solder tabs.
So make sure you follow Elsaram on social media to find out all the details and when you can get your hands on those exciting new speed controllers.
Yes, and now to wrap up, it's all on AE shoulders at this point, but maybe not someone from the USA.
Yeah, perhaps. we tried to get an interview with Marcus Carup earlier on, and this is the best we could do.
All right, chat. Aiden Horn here with Marcus Carup. Top seed for Marcus today. What a good boy. Very good boy for Marcus. I found myself in P4 after an honest effort. We're going to give it our all out there. The associated vehicles are stunting. We're doing the best we can. Head down. Billy over there, working so hard. Yet another good boy added to the list. Qualifying's tomorrow. Let's go.
Thanks, Aiden. And don't forget, you're a good boy too. But seriously, we did try to talk to Marcus and his dad at the end of the day, but Jonas told us that Marcus was already in bed, and that was only at 8 p.m.
What a good boy. Okay. Anyway, one man who must have a smile on his face is Team AE's Brent Tilke.
For the last couple of years, it's ever since we've known that the event was going to be here. The Australian team has been super excited, really helpful, sharing all their information. So a lot of the guys were here for the warm-up, and then the second warm-up, or even Spencer was here for the Nationals a year ago. And just the accumulation of all the knowledge that we've gained as a team, we've been able to kind of distribute amongst everybody for the past, probably 6 months or so. And what you're seeing is people taking the knowledge they gained here, going home, making it their own, and coming back and using some of the data they've gathered over the past 6 months preparing for this particular event, and getting on track and making those adjustments. And so far, so good with the results, man.
Well, there we go. That's about it for today. The schedule for tomorrow is on your screen now.
With the final round of controlled practice to set the qualifying groups, and then the racers move into 4 rounds of qualifying where every second counts.
Yes, you can watch the practice and qualifying live on RC Race Media, and you can watch the Daily Show right here. So we will see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. Until then.